1544. One royal decree. A razor at every exchange table. Kings didn't raise taxes, they didn't start wars. They legally shaved the edges off every coin in circulation. By 1551, half the silver in England was gone. Not stolen, not spent, erased. And the mechanism was built into the metal itself. This wasn't counterfeiting, it was policy, signed, sealed, enforced by the crown. Every merchant, every farmer, every soldier holding a shilling was unknowingly carrying a receipt for a silent transfer of wealth from their hands to the treasury to the war chest. And the most dangerous part? Nobody noticed until prices started moving. To understand how a kingdom can disappear half its money without firing a shot, we need to look at what England's currency actually was before the razor touched it. For 3 centuries, England's economy ran on one promise. A penny contained a penny's worth of silver. Not a token, not a symbol, actual metal. Weight and purity were law. The Tower Mint didn't just stamp coins, it guarded trust. If you held a silver groat, you held a fragment of the realm's credibility. Enter Henry VIII, 1544. Wars on 2 fronts, France to the south, Scotland to the north. Armies don't march on promises, they march on silver. And the crown's coffers were thin. The dissolution of the monasteries had brought in land, not liquidity. Taxes, politically explosive. Borrowing, expensive, and limited by the very metal standard Henry now needed to bypass. Here's the mechanism most histories skip. The crown didn't need to melt down coins to steal their value. It only needed to change the definition. A royal proclamation could redefine the sterling standard, reduce the silver content, keep the face value identical. The coin looked the same, felt similar, but its intrinsic worth, the metal backing the promise, had just been downgraded. The 1544 decree didn't announce debasement, it announced a reformation of the coinage. Language matters. The first reduction was modest, silver content lowered by roughly 1/6, enough to extract surplus without triggering panic, enough to fund another quarter of campaign, and enough to set a precedent. Once the razor was legal, it never stopped moving. Step 1. The Tower Mint receives new dies, new specifications. The same hammer, the same press, the same royal arms. But now, each coin leaves the press with less silver. The difference isn't visible to the naked eye, a fraction of a gram. But multiplied by millions of coins, that fraction becomes a fortune. The crown pockets the extracted silver. It doesn't go into circulation. It goes straight to Calais, to Berwick, to the paymasters of war. And here's the part most accounts miss. The public didn't need to know, not yet. Step 2. The moneyers and exchanges. These weren't criminals. They were licensed operators. Their job, test incoming coin, weigh it, assess purity. Under the new standard, coins that would have been rejected a year earlier now passed. But here's the twist. Foreign merchants dealing in continental silver standards noticed the weight discrepancy first. They began discounting English coin. Not openly, not officially, but in the margin. The exchange rate began to drift. And this is where the mechanism stops being about metal and starts being about perception. Step 3. Bad money drives out good. As the debased coins entered circulation, people did what rational actors always do. They hoarded the older, higher silver coins. They melted them. They exported them. The good money disappeared from daily use. What remained in markets, in wages, in rents, was the lighter, cheaper coin. The crown had effectively taxed every transaction, not by law, but by metallurgy. But a hidden tax only works if prices stay still, and prices don't. Step 4. the lag. Inflation doesn't hit the day the decree is signed. It creeps. First, bulk goods, wool, grain, iron. Then, services. Then, wages. By 1547, the year Henry died, prices in London had risen an estimated 30 to 40% against the pre-debasement baseline. The real wage of a labourer, what his coin could actually buy, had fallen. Not because he was less productive, because the unit of account he was paid in had been quietly, legally hollowed out. And the crown? It debased again and again. By 1551, the silver content of a testoon, the shilling of its day, was less than half of what it had been in 1542. But when the metal is gone, what's left to stand on? 1551, the bill comes due. Edward VI's council, young king, seasoned advisors, faces a choice. Continue the debasement and risk total loss of monetary credibility, or attempt a restoration. They choose restoration. A new proclamation. Coins would be recalled, reminted to the old standard. But here's the catch. The crown couldn't magically recreate the silver it had already spent. So the restoration was partial, and it came with a new tax, a fee for reminting. The public paid, twice. First through inflation, then through the fix. The data is sparse, but the signals are clear. Court records show a spike in disputes over contracts, rents, debts. Why? Because agreements made in old silver were now being settled in new. Merchants demanded payment in foreign coin. Wage riots in East Anglia. Not revolution, but friction. The kind that erodes trust in institutions. Not in the king personally, in the system he was supposed to uphold. And here's the irony most histories bury. The debasement didn't just fund wars, it funded a shift in economic thinking. If value could be detached from metal by decree, what else could be redefined? The episode became a case study, not just for economists later, but for the crown itself. The next time England needed to finance expansion, it wouldn't reach for the razor, it would reach for the charter, for the joint stock company, for the mechanism that could extract wealth without touching the coin. But that's a story for another file. What matters now is this: when trust is metallurgical and the metal changes, what holds the system together? The Great Debasement wasn't an anomaly. It was a prototype, a stress test of a principle that a sovereign can, under pressure, redefine the unit of account to extract surplus without explicit consent. The tool wasn't new. Roman emperors clipped coin. But the scale, the bureaucracy, the legal framing, that was modern. And the lesson wasn't lost on later states. When silver gave way to gold, when gold gave way to paper, when paper gave way to digital entries, the core mechanism remained. Adjust the definition, capture the difference. Today, central banks don't shave silver. They adjust interest rates. They expand balance sheets. They redefine price stability. The tools are more complex. The lag is longer. But the sequence is familiar. Pressure, redefinition, extraction, lagged consequence, attempt at restoration. The question isn't whether it can happen, it's how you recognize the razor before it touches your coin. If you want to see the next mechanism in this chain, how a trading company turned debt into empire, the full breakdown is on the channel. Subscribe. The hidden mechanics don't announce themselves, but they always leave a trace.